Hi, this is Robin Eschler with Women of Passion and Legacy, where we spotlight women who recognize their personal and unique drive to have purpose, to take one step at a time to make a difference, whether nationally, locally, or internationally. These women, just like you and me, have their own fears in life, their own challenges, but they push through them one day at a time to progress toward their dream. They've become the women of passion and legacy. Today, I'm really pleased to introduce you to Claudia Hiply Williams, who is a relationship dynamics coach specializing in helping spirited women. I love that term. Spirited women transform their relationships using her innovative Hiply language of love. Isn't that fun? I'm guessing that by spirited, she means adventurous, as she's also a world traveler, having started traveling solo at the age of 50 in 2016, with the goal of achieving 55 countries by the time she was 55. Unfortunately, COVID hit and cut those plans short, but her love of travel continues, and she's known to take her clients out on soul finding trips with her now. Her passion has actually opened to helping women find their own purpose. And sometimes, as we adventurous types like to say, that means travel. What better way, in my opinion, to open your soul? So let's welcome Claudia now. Claudia, thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to talk to you today.
Thank you. I want to start a bit with your history. You're originally from Berlin, is that correct?
Yes, Berlin, Germany, correct.
Good. And how did your travels, how long were you in Berlin? When did you come to the United States? How did that all happen?
Let's see. I grew up in a family with a very adventurous mom, so we traveled as a family quite a bit. And I actually spent my one of my high school years, let's see, junior, sophomore in high school in Berkeley, California. My dad was at a visiting professor in Berkeley, University of Berkeley. Yeah, so
Yeah.
we've traveled as a family as well. But I moved to the US with my boyfriend from Berlin, who was studying in the US. So I went to Cornell University and also University of
Wow.
Southern Maine and Portland for my undergrad. So
Wow.
that's um,
What did you study at Cornell? I'm curious.
I studied hotel management. So
Ah,
I had, yeah, being an adventurer, I thought it'd be really fun to work in the travel and hotel industry. So that's what I studied and that's what I did. And I worked as a
was
hotel
it fun?
consultant for a number of years. Yeah, it was great. And I'm a woman of transformation. So I keep switching every few years trying to find the next thing. But yes, that was really good. And then I moved to venture
I love
capital.
that. A woman of transformation. I'll have to start using that because I changed jobs a lot too as I was going through my
Oh
career.
my gosh,
It's a
yeah.
very wrapping, meandering road that got me here.
I know. And I so love being a life coach and supporting women in their journey and so on. I feel like I finally found my passion.
Yeah.
And
You
who
were
knows when that will change again too.
so you were also in real estate for a number of years, correct?
Yes, yes, yes. So when I was at Cornell, I met my husband, or now ex-husband, and we were together for 20 years. And we moved to Germany, back to Germany together, and then to California and Colorado. And in Colorado, I started real estate because I wanted to be home with the children and I didn't want to travel for work. I wanted to travel for fun. So that's sort of what
Yeah.
got
Yeah.
me
So now
into real
you're in
estate. So I did
Durango.
real estate for 20 years. Yeah.
Oh,
And I realized
wow.
I was coaching people while selling houses the whole way as well.
So that kind of that so you were well what is the order of this? You lived in Berlin, you came to the United States, you went into the hotel industry, you moved around.
I moved back to Germany for 7 years after college. Had
Okay.
my kids in Germany, and then we
Oh,
moved to the US.
and then you came back here and now you live in Durango.
Yes, been in
And
Durango.
when, and, but it wasn't until later, was it from Durango that you really started this traveling the world 55 by 55?
Yes. Yes, yes. I mean, I've always been a traveler, but I decided, okay, I guess I wanted to make it come up with a good reason to travel. I'm like, oh, if I'm a travel blogger, then I don't have to explain why I want to travel all the time. And then as COVID hit, I'm like, all right, this is not happening this year. I had a one-way ticket to South America booked that I
Oh
didn't
my
end up
gosh.
using and going because just wanted to explore. Um, and then
Now
I've
that,
also life coaching training had been on my radar, so I joined life coach training online during COVID
yeah,
and
that's when you
realized
started
that the
studying.
outward journey of traveling is really a mirror of the inward journey. So I went on a big journey and travel inside myself to transform inside.
Wow, that's a beautiful way to put it. That's, yeah,
And
I
I
like that.
created
And
the
you,
Hiply language of love. So
yeah,
to
and
make self-help fun and easy. Yeah, go ahead.
you studied with Martha Beck, who is a
Martha
life
Beck,
coach.
Oprah's life coach. Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that. See, I didn't
Yeah.
know that she was her life coach. Oh, for heaven's sakes. I love what
Yes.
she has to say, though, about being born to find your own compass and to pave your way through life, all the while you're helping others and living your true nature. I took that from her website and I thought,
Yes.
wow, I really like that.
Yes. She's got a beautiful way of coaching and very um, simple, if you will, but also going very deep. And that really spoke to me. Yeah, I'm called a Wayfinder life coach. That's Martha Beck's training. And then I
Wow.
also did a master coach training with a different set of coaches. It's called the Elementum Coaching Institute, where they go more into trauma and embodiment and somatics. So I'm a trauma informed master life coach as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
So but currently you're focusing on relationship coaching, correct? So,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
that can involve trauma, that's for sure.
Oh my gosh. Yes. So, yeah, in coaching, there's always three things that people are interested in fixing, if you will, the area of least satisfaction and that's the relationship, health, and purpose, career, that sort of thing. So, it slots into one of the three. And as I was thinking about which am I most interested in, I think the relationship dynamics between people and with ourselves within ourselves, which is what I go into in Hiply, is the thing that I I have found in my own personal healing is the easiest to access. And once you find clarity within yourself about your own relationship with yourself, the relationships that you want, then everything else in life becomes so much clearer too.
Yeah,
So the
yeah,
health
I will agree. I want to
and
put
the
this back up
purpose,
on.
yeah, they sort of all like, yeah.
I wanted to put this a slide back up because of this spiral. Can you
Yes,
describe this a little bit?
yes, yes. It's the energy spiral. And let's see, maybe I can talk about Hiply for a quick second because that's my fun and easy way to describe coaching modalities. So Hiply describes not only the name of the language of love I created, but the state of feeling calm and connected with a balanced nervous system, while also allowing for all the other underlying feelings to be present at the same time. So on this energy spiral, that would be the blue, green, anything above acceptance. And then the opposite of feeling hipply is feeling tarry, coming from tar, that sticky stuff on the roads. It just sticks to you. And tarry feelings I define as not necessarily bad, because our tragic use of cultural language is that bad feelings are bad, but what if they're not bad? They're here to point us in direction, point us to unmet needs. So in the direction of where we want to go, needs, boundaries, attention, basically. So Tari feelings point us in the direction of our needs. And then from there we can, yeah, and usually Tari feelings also imply dysregulated nervous system. So that's all those downward spiral things. And when we pile tar, which is judgment, shame, blame, on top of Tari feelings, then we just go down, down, down. And one of the easy ways out I teach is the it's okay technique, which is a very simple little technique where you can take any Tari feeling, thought, or even hurt. Like if your shoulder hurts, you say, oh, hey there, shoulder, it's okay. I got you. Or you're thinking sticky Tari thoughts. Oh, I'm so mad. He said this. It's okay. I have to do that. It's okay. I should go. I should start figuring it out. It's okay. So that leads slowly towards acceptance by creating just a little bit of space, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what's interesting about that spiral too is that it feeds on itself. As you
Yes.
go up the spiral, it
Yes.
magnifies and it feeds and it expands so
Yeah.
that you start out feeling, I'm okay. And then you feel a little better. And then you feel even better. And eventually you're feeling, just wildly ecstatic. And then going down the other way, it's the same thing. I'm not okay. Well, why? Because I'm
Yeah.
sad, and it just keeps going and it builds. So it's a matter of flipping a switch, I think, at some point. And
Yeah.
I think that's where you're coming in with the phrase, I'm okay. It's tarry,
It's okay.
but
Yeah.
I'm okay. I'm
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
focusing on shifting your mind so
Yeah.
that you can expand it
Yeah. So
going
you're
back up.
interrupting the loop, if you will, interrupting the loop and learning
Right.
how to interrupt the loop. And so much of this happens in our subconscious automatically. So we're not even aware of us doing it, right? So
Yeah.
that's where we can start with the interruptions and start very small and simple and just create a little bit of
Awareness.
space and
Yeah.
curiosity for something new. Yeah.
It's that awareness that's can be difficult to stop yourself, and recognize what's going on. And I think that's where coaching really comes in, is in
Yes.
listening and helping people recognize where they need to interrupt that process. Is that
Yes,
true?
yes. And that's why coaches are so important because it's really pretty easy, but impossibly hard to do for yourself typically because, yeah, we've got our blinders on and we have our beliefs and our things. And as soon as the coach is basically the interrupt by asking a question, say,
Right,
just
right,
to shift
exactly.
out of it. Yeah.
Interesting. Well, I'd like to also talk a little bit because I am a traveler and I do love traveling, and I know a lot of the people who listen to this enjoy traveling. I want to talk about your Diva Adventure Retreats. What's that about?
Ooh. Ooh, yes, yes. I love to travel internationally, but I also love to get out in nature.
Yeah.
So the Diva Adventure Retreats was born by just getting out in nature, getting our feet in the sand and just being out there amongst women, doing sisterhood things, overcoming challenges. The Diva Adventure is about rafting. So going
Oh,
on the river,
fun.
going on a river trip, camping out there, and being
Yeah.
intentional and aware about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's when I first started Blue Sky Lifestyles. That's what I had in mind, was to find women who are timid, a little bit timid, but that have that interest, that initial spark, that desire to kind of shed whatever's holding them back
Yeah.
and to reach out and go on one of those adventures. And it doesn't have to be, I think for me, things shifted when I visited South America. But it doesn't have to be an international trip. It can be in your own backyard. I mean,
Yeah.
or it can be rafting down the rapids in Colorado. I mean, that sounds like fun
Yes.
too. It just depends on how adventurous your first step. If it's your first step, what can that be? And finding it, and then experiencing it.
Yes.
I've been curious about, and I don't know where this came from, but Burning Man. Did you mention to me that you were going to Burning Man?
I am next week for the first time ever. Yes. And what's coming up is that magic happens when you get outside of your comfort zone, whether it be on the river or in a new culture. When you're traveling, when you don't understand anything, you just have to shift out of your subconscious and do something differently. So it works for pattern interrupt very well. And I suspect Burning Man is going to be very much like that, like a new
Yeah.
culture and a new world, a social experiment where there's no money exchange. It's all based on a gifting economy for a week. So that's really the part I'm most curious about. What happens to
I
the
was reading
human
about
race
that.
when there's no money, when everyone's just freely giving all their services and everything?
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm actually old enough that I remember the first Burning Man. I haven't gone
Have
yet.
you been? Yeah. No.
No, I haven't been. And maybe for those of you out there that aren't familiar with what Burning Man is, maybe you've heard about it, but you're not quite sure what it is. Claudia, why don't you kind of give a summary of what Burning Man is about?
Well, I've never been. So you hear all kinds of different things of
Yeah,
naked people in the desert doing drugs, but I think it's so much more than that. And
yeah.
I suppose that's why I've never been, because I didn't really know what it was. But from the life coach world, I think there's a lot of life coaching camps and offerings. There's a big temple and meditation spaces and coaching spaces and so on. But it's really big art installation place. Everyone gathers in the desert. People build huge art installations and yeah, a temple and the big man that they burn on the last night. And it's like 80,000 people get gather. It's like a whole city, Black Rock City. And
Yeah,
to
they
be
built
honest,
one.
I'm not 100% sure what to expect. But on
Yeah,
a backcountry ski trip this last winter, I met a bunch of young people from California tech world, and they have a camp that they all go to, and they were very encouraging that I should go and that I'm not too old. So I'm jumping in. I'm going to try it out and see how it goes.
I can't wait to hear what you have to say. And so please, are you going to do a blog? Are you going to do a podcast? Have you decided how you're going to kind of report on what you find?
That's a good
Or are
question.
you?
We'll see
Yeah,
how it goes and what I feel like sharing and so on. Yeah, but maybe a podcast. Yeah.
yeah. Because
Or,
my I have never considered going because I always had this impression of it being just a big drug fest.
yeah.
And I didn't, that wasn't of interest to me. But after talking with you initially before this broadcast, I did a little, just very brief research on Burning Man, and then something else had come into my perspective. And I've learned over the years that when something keeps reappearing for you, it's trying to get your attention, right? Right.
mm, yeah.
So Burning Man has been reoccurring for me. I spoke to you several weeks ago. Then there was a movie that brought it up, and And then today, I don't even know how it came into my consciousness again, but I went to the website. So, although I can't go this year, in fact, I'm going to share something for the first time publicly that I haven't shared yet. And that is I am on the cusp of a new adventure myself. I am leaving my home. I'm in the process right now, as we speak, of packing up and getting and divesting, getting rid of everything I can, which is hard for a number of reasons, but I won't go into that because we're not here to talk about me. But I am leaving everything behind and I'm going out and I'm just going to travel. And I've targeted doing it for about a year. And I thought about, you know, going overseas or South America or wherever, Central America, wherever. But then I thought, no, there's a lot of the United States that I haven't seen. I've seen bits and pieces, but there's still a lot that I'd like to see. So I am taking off. And mid September, I'm leaving. I'm going up through Lake Tahoe, over through the desert in Nevada, Carson City area, which is close to Burning Man, which I
Yep.
think is one of the reasons I was curious about it. They build a whole city and then they tear it down when everybody
Yep.
leaves. Um, and then off to Salt Lake City, and I'm going to go up in the. I was born in Salt Lake, so I'm going to go camp in the canyons for a couple of weeks, and then from there I'm going to go straight north through Montana and over the Dakotas and eventually drop down into Maine and down the coast. So I'm just doing it for a year. I'm just seeing where I land. And I'm really excited about it. I'm really excited. So Burning Man, I'm thinking maybe that's a really good way to wrap up the year to
Yes.
come
And you have an
around.
RV that you can stay in, which I
Yeah.
think
Well,
will be
no,
nice.
I'm actually going to be tent camping most of the time. I'm not,
Oh,
I
wow.
decided
Okay.
I don't want to, I'm doing this alone. I don't want to, I pulled horse trailers and things like that, but I don't want to be pulling a trailer and I don't want a huge big bus that I have to, there's advantages because of space, but nope, I decided I'm really going minimalist.
Nice. Nice. I love it. I'm so excited for you. That's going to be
Yeah.
amazing.
So I'll be keeping this program going
Yeah.
and interviewing people. And I'm going to start, I already have some stuff going on YouTube. So I'll be broadcasting my travels. And I'd love to stay in touch with you. And maybe
Yes.
we could get
Yes.
back
Maybe I can come
together
back
after
on and we
Burning
can
Man.
chat. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes. We can
After
chat
Burning
again.
Man, schedule
Yes.
something and do another interview and see, okay,
Yeah.
what was it really about?
Yeah.
Can't
Yeah.
wait
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
hear. Can't wait to
Yes.
hear.
So good. So good. And I guess
Yeah.
as you're explaining your trip, I would go up to Dakotas and Maine and so on, like in the summer, not
Well,
into
the
the winter.
fall, yeah, it's getting kind of cold. It's kind of the end, but
Yeah.
I've decided I'm just going to go for it. And
Okay.
yeah, it is tricky because October is kind of the cusp for a lot of these states. And the further north you get, the earlier in October it hits.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
We'll see.
I just I just decided, Claudia, I I am not going to even really plan an itinerary. I've just got a vague idea, and there's certain things I do want to see, and I'm going to let the universe, so to speak, the weather and the universe dictate what happens next. And I'm just
Perfect. I'm all
just
about
going
it.
for it.
You go,
I'm just
girl.
going for it.
Do it.
So thank you
And
for
not
the
having your
encouragement.
house payments and so on and so forth is going to make a big difference financially. Yeah.
Yeah, I hope. Yeah, that's a nice benefit too. But I'll have a storage unit, so I've got to keep that up.
Of
Although I
course.
had
Of
hoped to
course.
get it down to the point where I really did had just a minimal storage. I don't know how that's going to work, but anyway,
You'll figure it out.
in the last in fact, it's really only about 2 weeks. I have to be out by September 11th, so that's a
Wow,
really
that's coming
date
up.
for me to
Coming
pick.
up
I thought,
quick.
And I'm going to be, I think I'm going to be visiting some animal sanctuaries along the way, rescue
Yeah.
places for horses and cows and
Yeah.
ducks and
Yeah.
chickens and all the stuff I love. So you will see me in Durango eventually, but
Yes, come stop by. I'm very close to the
can't wait.
canyons in Utah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I love the Red Rock country too.
Yeah.
Well, okay. There's one last kind of touchy topic I want to hit on, and that is that you
Mm.
also had a podcast for a period of time, for about a year.
Yes,
And
and I'm
when I was
planning on
listening,
restarting it up again soon.
yeah, so the very first one you brought up just briefly, very briefly, you started talking about the Hiply language and it being a good vehicle to help people address delicate subjects. And specifically now, you're working with regards to relationships and using that language in how to address relationships and
Yeah.
making very difficult decisions. But early in this podcast, you actually mentioned learning this language to discuss sensitive topics like politics. And I
Yeah.
thought it might be kind of interesting to bring that up, especially now, because politics are a very sensitive topic for a lot of us, and it is an election year.
Oh, yes. Yes,
Share
yes,
a
Robin.
little about how people, without arguing, can share their thoughts.
That is such a good question and such an important thing, I think, to work on in these polarizing, scary, stressful times that we live in. The politics is one thing, but our news cycle and all kinds of other things, we just bombarded with this negative energy, like talking about that Hiply energy shift spiral, right? We're just bombarded. It's like our culture and um, the politics, the stress levels, it's all trying to keep us down on the bottom of the Hiply spiral. I'm getting all worked up just talking about it. But
It is,
nervous
it's a tough
system.
subject.
Yeah, it's such a tough subject. And we've all been like sort of conditioned to shove it down and ignore it, right? Put on a happy face, put on the happy mask and
Yeah.
pretend like we're okay with this. And we are not okay as a culture. We're not okay. Being polarizing like this is hard for human beings. We're social animals. We're wired for connection, and that fear based polarization is not conducive to our health. So, anyway, I think everyone knows that. So, how do we get through this? So, I created Hiply as a fun, easy way to make self help and healing, accessible to everyone. So one of the thing, and what I've done is like taken bits and pieces of all the different modalities that I've learned in my coach training, my master coach training, and kind of put them all together. So there's parts work. So there's what in Hiply I call it the inner peace self. That's never triggered, never activated, always at peace and connected to the divine and to everyone. God, the universe, whatever you want to call it, right? So, this inner peace self, God self, we have inside of us, all of us. And it gets covered up by parts that are triggered, that carry cultural burdens, family burdens, trauma from childhood. And we all have it, whether it's big T trauma or little t trauma, just little things that happened, like conditional love. Like if we weren't shown unconditional love as children, which I would venture none of us have because all parents mess up. So,
We're only human.
yeah. So, what happens is that there's all these parts inside of us that become active and the parts become polarized. So when we have one part that gets so afraid and scared of what's going to happen to this country when the other side wins, right? Because that's what we're bombarded with in the media. That part is so scared and afraid, so it's just going to be like fighting inside of us. And then there's got to be a polarized part that's saying it's going to be okay, we're okay, don't worry, it's going to be fine. But they both get bigger and bigger and bigger, and before we know it, we have this internal war, not just outside of us but inside of us. And guess what, they're both connected. So
Yeah.
one thing we can do is work inside of us. You can't change the other person, you can't change the people around you, but what you can do is shift and change yourself. So that's what I'm doing with Hiply. So regulating your nervous system, doing things like breathing to find that inner peace self, and that part can spontaneously heal. The inner peace self is not a part. That core self can spontaneously heal any and all parts. So that's a lot of explanation. And while it sounds simple, it's also impossibly hard. And it's
Yeah.
so worth delving into, because when we can regulate our nervous system, access that inner peace self, then we can heal our parts. And when we heal ourselves, we heal the world. And to bring it back around to the political discussions, if we're able to show up for a discussion or a conversation from that space of inner peace self, if both parties are able to like come back to that non-triggered, non-activated, curious mindset, we can really go at it with understanding the other person. And then it doesn't have to turn into an argument, but it can turn into a discussion.
Yeah. And I think the mastery of what you described helps if both of you are working at it. You know, if you're with a person who is just completely bombarded by all the external stimulus and argument, so to speak, debate, and hasn't addressed that inner balance of understanding, it's hard to have a conversation, really. So at least
Right.
that's my
That
feeling
is
about it.
correct. And I want to hold some space for you can do this unilaterally. You can do within yourself the work so you can show up from a balanced, peaceful place. You can set boundaries with the other person, right? It may not be possible, but if you
Yeah.
set clear boundaries and say, I'm going to do this from a peaceful space, this is what's okay, this is what's not okay. When this happens, we're going to split up
Change
and
the
try
subject.
again later if we want to, or maybe not, right? I mean, that's where we got to like really put our actions where our mouth is and say, okay, I'm
Yeah.
going to be serious about this. I'm going to set my ground rules. I call it the Hiply bubble for having conversations, which is like rules of engagement, if you will. I want to talk to you about this. And these things are minimum. And if there's yelling, if there's raised
Yeah.
voices, whatever it may be that triggers you, like if we get triggered or activated, then we need
Sorry.
to co-regulate, right? You're dysregulated nervous system, fight or flight. The first thing that goes are the ears, right? So you're not gonna be able to hear anything. Like they're not gonna hear anything you're saying. You're not hearing anything they're saying. Why bother, right? So lead with love, lead with peace and inner balance and curiosity, and make it okay that if it's not an easy proposition if you have different viewpoints.
Right.
I mean, our
And
politicians
and I
can't do it when they're
yeah.
having
And I
um,
honestly, I think a lot of the issue, as you mentioned too, is it resides with the media. That there was a time when newspapers way back in the dinosaur ages, newspapers and radio stations and TV stations tried to present a neutral view and tried to present the facts. And very gradually that shifted until more recently, where it's not been gradual, there's been really deep chasms in reporting on both sides. It's not a matter of one side being right and one side being wrong. It's a matter of one-sided reporting. And that has creeped into the social media, which has become so prevalent these days too, that in my opinion, with regards to politics, and it is a difficult conversation, I think what's important is, in addition to your own inner balance, that you, as part of that, you recognize that our system is out of balance. And to simply recognize that there's always two sides to the story, and that you're getting one side, and if you're really interested, to listen to the other side and make your own choice. And hopefully your own choice will be according to what you have been able to accomplish with regards to the Hiply language, and your centering and your balancing within. And then
Yes. Yeah,
that becomes your
absolutely.
feeling, so to
Absolutely.
speak.
We have to
So,
make our own choice. And I would also say we vote with our attention. Where attention goes, energy flows. So pay attention to what news you're watching and what facts you're checking, if you will, or what things are maybe like, that doesn't sound right. I'm going to go check that. Or listen to some international news stations that are not as polarized, maybe, that are just going to report the facts.
yeah,
And
it's interesting.
don't
I've
engage with that
discovered that,
social media stuff. Yeah. I mean, it's like
social media.
yeah. It's tough. It's a tough one, and it's scary. And the other thing I would say is just like transmute the fear into love. See the humanness in all of this, in all the sides and everything, and give everyone the benefit of doubt. And I would say the real tragic part of this, that I think there's probably 80% of issues that everybody agrees on, and it's the 20% of things that we're arguing about that we're putting 100% of our energy onto. It's like if we could just
That's
focus
interesting.
on finding agreement, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Then
good point.
yeah,
Very good
it's
point.
like we all want to be
Yeah.
safe and peaceful, and we want education, and we want to take care of our fellow human beings. The question is how we want to do that, right? That's where we get hung up on things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I want to shift gears a little bit, because
That's
that in and of
heavy.
itself was a difficult conversation, really,
Yeah.
because it is very polarizing. And um, so let's shift gears just a little bit.
Okay.
I want to ask you about, well, I'll tell you what, let's look at your website for now, because it looks like a lot of fun.
Oh, I'm all about
Look at
fun.
these pictures. Oh my gosh. So this was from your digital nomad years, we'll call them, right?
Yes.
Traveling, you got to 34, or was it 35 different countries?
I got to 34 countries. After I turned 50, I started counting only the ones that I hadn't been to before that. So if I'm completely honest, I have been to 55 and more countries if I count my whole life,
Right.
because I was traveling a lot before I turned 50 as well. So
Yeah,
yeah,
look
that
at
was
that.
really just more of a hobby and a fun
It's
project.
Look at
And
that. It is
yeah,
just incredible. I love
and I
it.
need to update and add some more things. I went to Machu Picchu to Peru for the first time this last July, yeah, last month.
Ah,
So
wow.
I have some fun pictures of that.
I would love to hear more about that. Peru.
Yeah,
Oh, wow. Yeah, I was in Ecuador, as I mentioned, and Peru is a neighbor, and I would love to go back and get down into there. So this is your homepage, but then there's the podcast,
yes,
which
I
is
call
going
it
to
Let's
is
Hiply
going to be
This.
revised.
Yeah,
And then you've got your coaching here, which is important for people to. Oh, I love this picture too. These arches.
that's
That's
in
got to be
Moab. Yeah,
arches.
yeah.
Yeah. And and then the travel, the diva travel, of course, over here in the different countries. Look at this that you've been to and that you continue. Look at that map. Isn't that wonderful? Oh my gosh, look at this. Why have you ignored Africa? Oh no, that's
I've
South
been to
America.
South Africa
Uh,
and
Africa, here we go. Yeah, you have been down here towards Africa, and now you've been to Peru, so you can put a pin there
yeah, I've been
too.
to Peru and Colombia. Yes, I was actually as COVID I had a one-way ticket after I got divorced. I'm like, all right, I'm taking my backpack and I'm actually going to go travel for however long I
Yeah,
feel like. So I had a one-way ticket to South America that I didn't end up using because of the travel ban in
yeah,
2020, early
yeah,
2020. Yeah. So that's
yeah.
how
And
I
it
started life coaching, which I am so excited about because now I travel from a whole different mindset, I would say,
right,
which is even
right.
cooler.
Taking
Yeah.
clients with you too.
Yeah.
Okay, well, before we end, I want to ask you if you have anything additional that you'd like to add to our conversation.
Let's see. I've got a free master class that I'm offering. The next
Oh,
one is
that's
September
right.
6th.
It's
I
should
don't know
I
when this
go
is
or should
going
I
to
leave
air.
or
Yeah.
yeah,
So I would like to invite any is for women who are stuck in indecision and not necessarily just relationship. I call it should I stay, should I go, or should I go? But it's really the indecision part that keeps us so stuck. So finding clarity is what I go through in the master class. And that's also what I teach in my Hiply Love Sanctuary program, which is all about learning how to love yourself and be clear inside of yourself. And then everything around you is going to become clear as well. So when we drop our social mask, that is when we can find our own clarity. Yes.
and it is
And
so true.
I'd love to offer potential clients a free half-hour discovery session. I call it the Clarity Breakthrough Call, where we together come up with a roadmap to put you on the right path toward clarity. So I would like to invite your listeners to a free half-hour discovery call
Okay.
with me.
Okay, that sounds wonderful. So we will put all the links to your website and to the Discovery Clarity Call. And I could even put a link in there for people who want to sign up for the masterclass. If you'll send that to me, I'd be happy to include that. So all that will be in the description below the video.
Yes. Thank
And
you.
we will connect again post Burning Man. Don't
Yes.
forget.
Yes, you can come visit me when you're on your way through here in September.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm going. I don't know that I'll get through Colorado on my because I'm going straight north from Utah
Yeah,
because
well,
of weather. I
technology
want to
is
get through it.
wonderful. We can just do it like this. Maybe we can
Yeah,
record
we
another.
will get it done. Well, and then I did say I was going to allow weather and everything else to kind of dictate. So you never know. You never know. And
Yes,
that's
keep an
part,
open mind. You never know
it
where you'll
is.
end
And
up.
that's part of
Yeah.
what you just said about clarity, that when you just release it, when you just instead of trying to control, when you get to the point of just being able to say, okay, I know who I am and I accept that, and I am clear on where, or not, you maybe not even know where you want to go, but you're just at a point where you're centered. Okay, you know who you are and you're ready to release. And it's in that release and letting go that the divine, the universe, whatever you want to call it, seems to open up. Since I
Yeah.
came to this conclusion, since I just let go and said, okay, I've had all kinds of amazing things happening that are confirming that I'm doing the right thing. And that's what I'm planning on guiding me once I'm out on the road. So you never know. I may end up in Durango.
Yes. Yes.
At some point I will. At some point I will. But it will be post Burning Man because I want to hear about that. Um,
Yes.
thank you. Thank you,
Thank you
Claudia,
so
for
much.
joining
Thanks
me.
for
This
having
has been
me.
fun. Before I
Yes.
close, I want to remind everybody of the Maya Angelou quote. Um, People will forget what you said. People will forget what you did, but they will never forget how you made them feel.
Mm.
Isn't that beautiful?
Yes,
And
I
I
love
and
it.
that's what this show is about helping people feel good within themselves. Because when you feel good within yourself, it's just a natural progression for other people to feel good when they're around you.
So good.
So, thank you, everybody in our listening audience, for joining us. Thank you, Claudia. And
Thank
I'll look
you.
forward to touching base with you again soon.
Thank you
Bye
so
bye.
much. Bye bye.